Welcome into the Midweek Minutes edition of the Talking Fantasy Baseball podcast. My name is Eric Henriksen. On each Midweek Minutes, we'll be bringing you the biggest news and notes you need to know. Let's dive in. Sound the alarm. Athletics' number one prospect Nick Kurtz will be called up from AAA to make his MLB debut on Wednesday ahead of their game against Texas. This comes following just 32 games of minor league experience for Kurtz after he was drafted 4th overall in last year's MLB draft. He leads the minor leagues with 7 home runs, so if he's available in your league, go get him now and see what happens. I'm sure you have someone you can drop, whether that's a pitcher or a struggling hitter that's towards the end of your bench. If Nick Kurtz is available, go and get him. There were a slew of other call-ups that happened at the end of last week into the early part of this week as well, including Caleb Durbin, Logan Henderson, and Craig Yoho for the Brewers, Luke Keeschel for the Twins, Edgar Quero for the White Sox, Chandler Simpson for the Rays, and Augustin Ramirez for the Marlins. In terms of priority ads, I'd rank them Kurtz, then a pretty wide gap, Ramirez, Durbin, Keeschel, Quero, Simpson, Yoho, and Henderson. And I only rank Henderson last because although he excelled in his major league debut this past Sunday, he was already optioned back to the minor leagues. Otherwise, I'd rank him ahead of Durbin. Augustin Ramirez was the centerpiece of the Jazz Chisholm trade with the Yankees last year and is probably the most interesting name of that group outside of Kurtz. He does have catcher and first base eligibility and is a, let's say, opportunistic base runner because he's not fast, but he does steal bases. And you know that is rare for the catcher position. He went 2 for 3 with a stolen base. There you go. In his debut yesterday. Caleb Durbin hit his first career home run on Monday night. It only went 375 feet with an exit velo of 100 miles per hour. So he didn't get all of it, I would say, or maybe he got as much of it as he possibly could. He may be a decent Matt Shaw replacement for the time being, but maybe not a long-term solution. Speed is more of his calling card. Max Meyer might be breaking out. He struck out a career-best 14 hitters over 6 scoreless innings yesterday, of course failing to get a win against the Reds because he plays for the Marlins. He fell just 2 strikeouts short of tying the franchise single-game strikeout record of 16. Kyle Manzardo hit a home run for the 3rd consecutive game after a brief slump that saw his batting average dip below the Mendoza line. He's now on a 5-game hitting streak. And of all the breakout first basemen, I think he ranks towards the bottom because his fly ball rate is almost 57%, which leads to a low BABIP and subsequently a low batting average, a la Kyle Schwarber before last season. Mark Vientos has missed the last 2 games for the Mets with a groin injury. He took batting practice and fielded ground balls prior to Monday's game, so there's a good chance he returns shortly. He's off to a terrible start this season. Or is he? His strikeout rate is down to 17%. His walk rate is up to 11%. He's cut his swinging strike rate by 4%, and he's increased his contact percentage by 5%. Oh, and he has a 179 BABIP. So to me, it sounds like he's been very unlucky. This might be a great buy low opportunity. Zach Neto was activated from the IL this past Friday and has looked good so far. It's only been 3 games, but his quality of contact has been really, really good, which is especially encouraging considering he's coming off shoulder surgery. If he's available, go get him too. And I would say he would be a priority over Nick Kurtz. But just by a slim margin, it might come down to team need, but Zach Neto is at least going to run for you. Ben Rice was supposed to return Tuesday, which is today, after getting hit with a pitch on his elbow on Saturday, but he did enter the game yesterday as a pinch hitter, so all systems seem to be a go for a Tuesday return to the lineup. Former top prospect Noelvi Marte, who homered off Jorge Mateo in that 24-2 bludgeoning of the Orioles on Sunday, went 2 for 4 yesterday with a double and a stolen base. Considering all the other prospects that have come up, I don't think this is an actionable moment. But keep an eye on Marte. The talent that made him a top-end prospect is still there, but he's coming off of a PED suspension and whatever is worse than a down year. Just plain old terrible. So just keep an eye, add him to your watch list. Staying with the Reds, Alexis Diaz continues to struggle, so there's no way he's going to end up back in the closer role or even high leverage situations for the foreseeable future. Will Vest recorded his 2nd save in 3 days. For the Detroit, Tommy Kahnle was unavailable after pitching in 3 of the last 4 days. I do think maybe long-term, Will Vest is the option at closer for Detroit. So just, again, keep an eye on that situation. The White Sox designated Mike Clevenger for assignment last week. Stay away from the White Sox closer situation, but if you're that desperate, maybe Cam Boozer is interesting, but how many opportunities is he really going to get to close? In other closer news, David Bednar dominated his stay in the minors, but did give up 2 base runners in his first appearance back with the Pirates. He also struck out 2. I wouldn't bet against him ending up back in the closer's role, though there's no guarantee and it may take some time. And one more closer situation to note, Diamondbacks co-closer AJ Puck is set to undergo an MRI in his ailing left elbow after landing on the 15-day IL this past weekend. Justin Martinez figures to get a boost in value as the primary closer going forward, although he is currently dealing with fatigue. And let's remember, AJ Puck, in the beginning of his career, really dealt with a ton of arm injuries. Not good for AJ Puck. George Kirby is set to face hitters this week and remains on track to return from shoulder inflammation in late May or early June. Spencer Strider landed back on the IL yesterday, retroactive to April 18th, this time with a hamstring strain he suffered while playing catch. Pablo Lopez is set to return on Thursday. That could push David Festa from the rotation, but really it should be either Chris Paddock or Simeon Wood Richardson. David Festa does start tomorrow against the White Sox, so maybe he gets one more start in. But really, he should not be pushed with how he's performed so far. Brian Bayo will make his season debut for the Red Sox tonight after missing the first few weeks of the season with a shoulder issue. He had a 7 ERA during his rehab assignment, but a more encouraging 21 to 4K to walk ratio over the 14 rehab innings. He's more of a deep league play, I'd say, not someone I'm particularly interested in. Someone I am interested in, Jack Leiter is set for a rehab outing today. He's working his way back from a blister and could be ready for activation this weekend. And last but not least, Liam Hendriks, who hadn't pitched in the majors in 22 months after first beating non-Hodgkin's lymphoma before being sidelined by Tommy John surgery, returned to the mound this weekend. To me, the results don't matter. It's an incredible story, and it's simply great to see him out there. Not an actionable item either, but Aroldis Chapman is the closer currently for the Red Sox, so there's a good chance he has a stretch of the season where he struggles, and if Hendriks can be anywhere near what he used to be before dealing with his health issues, perhaps he moves into the closer role. But just a really good feel-good story there for Liam Hendriks. Can't help but root for the guy. That does it for this edition of Midweek Minutes. Josh and I will be back later this week with an all-new full-length episode. And remember, we are coming to you twice a week now. So please subscribe. We're available on all major podcast platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, and the Odyssey app. Give us a like, a 5-star rating, a kind review. We will read all of them. And if there's anything you want us to talk about, drop us a message. I'm Eric, and this has been Talking Fantasy Baseball's Midweek Minutes. See you next time. Go get Nick Kurtz.